On behalf of the Colorado Department of Revenue, welcome to this wage withholding video on the DR 1093 annual transmittal of state W-2 forms and year-end W-2 submittals. This video will cover how to reconcile at the end of the calendar year using Form DR 1093 and how to submit W-2s each calendar year. Let's begin by looking at Form DR 1093 annual transmittal of state W-2 forms. Form DR 1093 is used for two purposes: to reconcile over or underpayments that could not be reconciled during the calendar year, and to submit copies of W-2s. Employers are required to reconcile withholding for each calendar year. This means verifying the total withholding payments for the year equals the total of all W-2s. Calendar year over or underpayments are reported on Form DR 1093. The DR 1093 is due on or before January 31st of the following year. If the due date falls on a weekend or legal holiday, the due date is the next business day. Every employer subject to Colorado wage withholding requirements is also required to produce an annual W-2. The employer must provide the federal W-2 wage and tax statement to the department and each employee for every calendar year. The W-2 must report the employee's Colorado wages and Colorado withholding. Form DR 1093 is used to reconcile withholding discrepancies over a calendar year due to an underpayment of withholding where a reconciliation payment is due, or an overpayment of withholding where a refund is being requested. If the DR 1093 is filed by January 31st, it will serve as a claim for refund of overpayment. If the DR 1093 is submitted after January 31st, a refund claim, Form DR 0137, is also required. Withholding refund claims received after the deadline will also have significantly longer processing times. This is why it is extremely important to remember that W-2s and the DR 1093 reconciliation return are due by January 31st after the close of the calendar year. Here's an important message when it comes to filling out Form DR 1093. For most filers, Form DR 1094, Colorado W-2 wage withholding tax return, and Form DR 1093 have the same filing period end date of December 31st, and this is often a source of confusion. While most employers enter the total of all W-2s for the calendar year on line 1 of the DR 1093 correctly, it's quite common that the fourth quarter DR 1094 return payment is excluded from line 2. In this example, the employer paid withholding taxes of $3,800 for the first 3 quarters. But when the employer completed Form DR 1093, they forgot to include the fourth quarter payment in the total payments on line 2. Since the $1,600 payment was excluded on line 2, it will appear as a balance on line 3A. This then posts to the withholding account as an amount owed in error, and a delinquent notice is mailed to the employer. To correct this error, the employer must file an amended DR 1093 reconciliation return to correct the amount on line 2. This is why it is so important to verify that all withholding payments for the entire calendar year are included on line 2. There are 2 ways to file Form DR 1093, by using Revenue Online or by using the paper return. Now let's take a look at how to file Form DR 1093 to balance your W-2 withholding. To file Form DR 1093, begin on tax.colorado.gov. Select Online Services in the top blue menu bar, then select Visit ROL in the Revenue Online menu panel. Enter your username and password in the login box, then select Login. Please note that the paper and online versions of the DR 1093 are identical in their line numbers and used for reporting, so this demonstration serves both methods of filing the DR 1093. After you've logged into your Revenue Online account, locate the Wage Withholding Account box. and select File, Amend, and View Returns Payments. The next screen will bring up the list of returns for all filing periods. From the December 31st, 2024 filing period, locate the Withholding Reconciliation Return and select File Now. For our example employer, the total of all W-2s for all Colorado withholding taxes withheld for all Colorado employees totaled $5,400, which we will enter on line 1. Line 2 is the total amount of withholding return payments that were submitted to the Colorado Department of Revenue throughout the calendar year. Any payments made towards penalty and interest should not be included on this line item. Ideally, the total withholding liability return payments entered on line 2 would equal the total of all W-2s on line 1. But let's see what it would look like if the employer paid a total of $5,700. If we were to enter $5,700 on line 2, Revenue Online will automatically calculate the overpayment on line 3B. This results in a $300 overpayment. If the DR 1093 is submitted by January 31st of the year following the calendar year ending, this will also serve as your refund request. Now let's see what it would look like if the employer paid a total of $5,100. If we were to enter $5,100 on line 2, Revenue Online will automatically calculate the underpayment on line 3A. The employer can then make a reconciliation payment of $300 for the underpayment of withholding for the calendar year. In our example, the employer was diligent. As a result, the total payments equaled the total of all W-2s, so I'll enter $5,400 on line 2. To file the DR 1093 return, select Submit. Enter your password, then select OK. Please save the confirmation number for your records. Now let's take a look at how to submit employee W-2s. There are 2 methods to submit employee W-2s to the Colorado Department of Revenue, using Revenue Online or by mail with Form DR 1093. Employers not required to file electronically may instead submit copies of their physical W-2s by mail. Copies of all W-2s for the calendar year must be attached to a completed DR 1093 annual transmittal of state W-2 forms tax return, even if there is no refund being claimed and no balance due being reported. An employer required to file federal W-2s electronically must also file Colorado W-2s electronically. For W-2s required to be filed on or after January 1st, 2024, the employer is required to electronically file W-2s if the employer has 10 or more federal W-2s. For W-2s required to be filed prior to January 1st, 2024, please reference Part 4 of the Colorado Wage Withholding Tax Guide titled W-2 Wage and Tax Statements. Employers that are not required to file W-2s electronically also have the option of submitting W-2s with the DR 1093 form by mail. That said, many employers still choose to submit their W-2s electronically because it's convenient and easy to use. Employers who plan to submit W-2s electronically must first request submitter access by pre-registering on Revenue Online. This must be done 5 to 7 business days before the first electronic W-2 submittal. Here are some important tips about W-2 filings. Form DR 1093 is not required if for the calendar year W-2s are filed electronically and the total Colorado withholding reported and remitted to the Colorado Department of Revenue equals the total of all W-2s for the calendar year. However, Form DR 1093 is required if the withholding taxes paid do not equal the total of all W-2s for the calendar year. Each business or third-party representative must submit a request for access to submit year-end withholding statements electronically online. In general, a request must be submitted at least 5 to 7 business days in advance, but access can be requested at any time of the year. As you can imagine, the months of December and January are very busy for us, and processing delays are inevitable. Do yourself a favor and request access at least 14 to 21 business days in advance during these months so you can file W-2s electronically on or before the January 31st filing deadline. Third-party preparers must use their own legal business name and FEIN when requesting withholding submitter access to electronically submit year-end withholding statements on behalf of their clients. There is only one exception to this rule. If a third-party preparer has a current and valid power of attorney on file with the client's Colorado wage withholding account and is submitting W-2s on behalf of that client, then the client's legal business name and FEIN can be used to request submitter access. The DR-0145 Colorado Tax Information, Authorization, or Power of Attorney form and instructions can be found on our website at tax.colorado.gov/DR0145. The form must be signed by both parties. If a third-party request using a client's FEIN and legal business name is received without a power of attorney, it will be denied by the department and may be subject to additional review. If you have any uncertainties, please contact our Taxpayer Services Division to verify whether a current and valid power of attorney is on file with your client's Colorado wage withholding account. Contact information can be found on our website at tax.colorado.gov/contact-us. Once the IRS processes your request and assigns an employer identification number, EIN, to your business, you will receive a notice from them. When requesting a withholding submitter access request with the department, the legal business name and FEIN must match the IRS notice exactly. If a doing business as DBA name or any other variation than what is listed on the letter is used, access will not be granted. If this were to happen, you would receive a letter from the Colorado Department of Revenue requesting an IRS EIN verification notice or letter. This is required to verify the legal name of the business and FEIN as filed with the IRS to correct any variations. For assistance with EIN questions, please contact the IRS at irs.gov/businesses/employer-identification-number. Do not submit more than one request for access to the department, as this will delay the process. When requesting access, you will receive a confirmation ID. Please save this for your records and refer to it when contacting the department. Now let's take a look at how to pre-register to submit W-2s electronically and how to submit them online. Please note that physical copies of W-2s attached to an account would not be considered an acceptable method to submit W-2s electronically. For more information on electronic W-2 formatting and filing requirements, please reference Part 4 and Appendix A of the Colorado Wage Withholding Tax Guide. Additional information on submitting electronic W-2s is available on our website, or you can contact the Discovery section at 303-205-8292. In order to pre-register to submit W-2s, begin on tax.colorado.gov. Select Businesses in the top blue menu bar, then select Withholding Tax from the drop-down menu. From the Quick Links section, select Forms to Download Print. Here, you will find the link to the Year-End XLSX W-2 Info Return Template for Submitters spreadsheet. Download, then enter your tax data into the spreadsheet to upload your W-2s electronically. This is a great option for employers with 10 or more federal W-2s that are required to file W-2s electronically. Instructions are included in the spreadsheet itself. You can also reference the Year-End W-2 XLSX Info Return Template Instructions webpage for step-by-step instructions. You will need to pre-register to request to submit W-2s electronically to upload the spreadsheet. Let's take a look at how to do that now. W-2s can be submitted electronically through Revenue Online with or without a login. To register to submit W-2s electronically, scroll back up to the blue menu bar and select Online Services. You can then select Visit ROL to be redirected to the Revenue Online homepage. First, we'll look at how to pre-register to submit W-2s electronically with a login. On Revenue Online, enter your username and password, then select Login. From the Withholding Account box, select Submit Year-End Withholding. On the next screen, select Request Withholding Submitter Access. Please read the eligibility requirements, then select Next. Read the Submitter Access request information, and select Next. Enter all required fields noted with a red asterisk in the Taxpayer Information section. This includes your FEIN and, if applicable, your phone number. Select Next to continue. Acknowledge you understand the terms by checking the box I agree to the above terms and conditions. Then select Submit. A confirmation pop-up box will appear. Enter your Revenue Online password and select OK. Your password serves as your electronic signature. You can print a confirmation of your request by selecting Printable View. Select OK to return to your Revenue Online homepage. A request for withholding submitter access is generally granted within 7 to 10 business days. Once approved, you can simply select the link to submit year-end withholding again to enter information for each W-2 manually or upload an electronic formatted file for all W-2s. W-2s can also be submitted through Revenue Online without a login. Let's take a look at how to do that now. If you do not have a Revenue Online account, scroll down to the Withholding menu panel. Select Submit Year-End Withholding. This is where you can submit a W-2 withholding file attachment or submit W-2 withholding information manually. This is also where you can request withholding submitter access. This step is required to submit W-2s electronically. Let's review that now by selecting the link Request Withholding Submitter Access. The next steps are exactly the same as if you were requesting access to submit W-2s electronically through a Revenue Online login, with one exception. After selecting Next, then Next again, you will be prompted to enter all the employer's information in the Taxpayer Information section. Once you've completed the process, you will see a confirmation page stating that your access request has been received. Let's review helpful tips before submitting the W-2 XLSX file. When submitting W-2s electronically using the year-end W-2 XLSX template, please keep the following in mind. A single template can be used to submit W-2s on behalf of multiple employers and employees. However, W-2s for multiple tax years cannot be combined into one template. A separate template must be submitted for each tax year. Please note, if you have not yet been granted withholding submitter access, you will receive an error message when uploading your W-2 XLSX file. If this occurs, you must request withholding submitter access and wait to upload your file until you've received confirmation from the department that access has been granted. If you are unsure if you requested access, please do not submit another request, as this will delay processing. Instead, contact the Discovery section at 303-205-8292 to verify whether a request was submitted. Let's take a look at a few other helpful hints. Please note that W-2s submitted through other means, such as a web protest, e-file attachment, or Revenue Online message, will not be processed or accepted. The Instruction tab of the template breaks down the required data and formatting. We want your submittal to be successful and encourage you to read the instructions to help prevent errors. Instructions are also available on our website, tax.colorado.gov/year-end-W-2 XLSX-info-return-template-instructions. Lastly, if your online W-2 template was uploaded successfully, you will receive a confirmation ID number. Please retain this for your records and refer to the confirmation number when contacting the department. Now that we've completed the pre-registration process, let's look at how to submit W-2s electronically using the year-end W-2 XLSX template. Once you've opened up the XLSX file, you'll notice that there are 3 tabs at the bottom of the file: Employer's Info, Employee's Info, and Instructions. Let's begin with the Employer's Info. In this tab, enter employer information and the tax year for which you are reporting. Multiple employers can be reported on this tab. Please ensure that the correct filing tax year is entered and input the correct employee information next to the corresponding employer EIN on the Employee's Info tab. In this example, there is 1 employer, so I will enter that information now. A portion of the information to enter into this section of the template can be found in boxes B and C and the tax year listed on the W-2 form. In column A, enter the tax year for the W-2s you are submitting. Remember, a separate template must be used for each tax year. In column B, enter the employer's name. In column C, select the number that corresponds to the ID type for the employer. In column D, enter the ID number. In the following columns, enter the employer's address and phone number. Next, I'll select the Employee's Info tab. Employees from multiple employers can be reported on this tab. Please ensure that the employer EIN used on this tab is for the corresponding employer EIN for the employee information reported on the row. The information to enter into this section of the template can be found on the employee's W-2 form in boxes A, E, F, 1, 2, 15, 16, and 17. In column A, enter the employer federal ID type. In column B, enter the employer EIN. In columns C through F, enter the employee's name. In column G, enter the recipient federal ID number. In columns H through I, enter the employee's address and email address. Complete the remainder of the columns using information from the W-2 form as applicable. Once you've entered all required information, save a copy of your file. Next, open a tab and visit Revenue Online at colorado.gov/revenueonline. To upload your withholding file attachment, locate the Withholding menu panel and select the hyperlink Submit Year-End Withholding. On the next page, select the hyperlink Submit a Withholding File Attachment. The next screen explains the purpose, eligibility, and information needed to continue. Once you have reviewed the information, select Next. On the next page, select the file type to submit from the drop-down menu. For this example, I will choose W-2 file, then select Next. On the next page, enter the submitter information, including the Federal Employer Identification Number, FEIN, Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, ITIN, or Social Security Number, SSN, for the person or entity that has web submitter access. Once you have entered this information, select Next. On the next screen, select the hyperlink Attach a File in the Attachments section. In the pop-up box, enter a description of the file. Then, under the Choose File option, locate and select the file to upload from your computer. Select OK to upload your file. If errors are detected in the file you chose to upload, you will receive a list of errors, their locations in the spreadsheet, and the information required to correct the error. All errors must be corrected before Revenue Online can accept the file submission. If you fixed any errors in your file, save a copy of your corrected file, then select the Attach a File hyperlink to upload it. Your file will appear in the Attachments section when it is ready for final submission. Then select Next. Review your information for accuracy before submitting, then select Submit. In the confirmation pop-up box, enter and re-enter your email address, then select OK. On the confirmation screen, save the filing ID associated with your request for future reference. An employer that goes out of business, dissolves, merges into another corporation, no longer has employees, or otherwise ceases paying wages, must file W-2s with a department within 30 days of the final payment of wages. After the final return is filed and the W-2s are submitted, the account should be closed. An account can be closed through an established Revenue Online login or by submitting a DR1108 Business Tax Account Closure Form. If a federal W-2 issued by an employer contains errors, such as reporting an incorrect Social Security number, incorrect wages, or an incorrect amount of Colorado wage withholding, the employer is required to furnish both the employee and the department with a corrected W-2, also called a W-2C. W-2Cs must be submitted in the time provided under federal law for correcting W-2s, generally by January 31st. If the corrected W-2C results in a variance between the total of all W-2s and the amount of withholding taxes paid, please complete Form DR-1093 and include a copy of the W-2C. If the W-2C is being furnished for informational purposes only, please mail the corrected W-2 with a cover letter to the Colorado Department of Revenue, Discovery Section, P.O. Box 17087, Denver, Colorado 80217-0087. Now let's review helpful tips to prevent fraud. The first tip is to submit your W-2s on time. W-2s can be submitted as early as January 1st of the year following the close of the calendar year and are due no later than January 31st. File as soon as possible to prevent fraud and avoid late penalties and interest. If your business closes, submit the DR1108 Business Tax Account Closure Form promptly with the department. Businesses are responsible for informing the department of any business contacts who may contact us regarding their withholding account. This includes employees of the business, third-party representatives, power of attorneys, and third-party preparers. Lastly, if a business contact needs to be changed, added, or removed, please contact the department as soon as possible. The department will not discuss account details unless explicitly authorized to do so. The best way to protect your account is to complete the DR0145 Colorado Tax Information Authorization or Power of Attorney form. In accordance with Section 39-22-6046C of the Colorado Revised Statutes and per House Bill 23-1006, Employer Notice of Income Tax Credits for income tax years commencing on and after January 1st of 2023, employers must provide to all employees who receive a Colorado wage and tax statement, Form W-2, all the language contained in the template provided on Form DR 0995. The notice of federal and state refundable tax credits must be provided in writing to each employee by January 31st of each year. This is the same deadline for providing W-2s to employees. This notice includes information about what a refundable tax credit is, earned income tax credits, child tax credits, family affordability tax credits, and how to claim these credits. There is also information for qualifying taxpayers about free income tax filing help. Please reference the DR 0995 instructions for specific requirements. This form can be found under the Forms tab from our homepage, tax.colorado.gov. For additional training videos on Colorado wage withholding, please visit tax.colorado.gov/withholding-training. Thank you for watching this wage withholding video on the DR 1093 Annual Transmittal of State W-2 Forms and Year-End W-2 Submittals.